Imagine a man so bold that he rejected money, fame, and even society itself, just to live like a dog. Why? What did Diogenes see in dogs that the rest of us humans could not? Diogenes of Cynic was one of the most shocking philosophers of ancient Greece. He slept in a barrel, begged for food, and mocked the powerful. But above all, he called himself a dog. Was he insulting himself, or was he revealing a hidden truth about freedom? Ancient Greece admired wealth, fame, and reputation. People built big houses and fought for social status. But Diogenes saw this as slavery, not freedom. To him, a dog lived with more honesty than any nobleman. Dogs live without shame. They eat when hungry, bark when threatened, and rest wherever they like. Diogenes wanted to live the same way. No pretending, no masks, no fear of judgment. A dog is loyal, not to money or status, but to truth. Diogenes barked at hypocrisy and bit the lies of society. For him, freedom was more valuable than respect. One day, Diogenes walked in daylight, holding a lantern. When people asked why, he said, "I am looking for an honest man." Another day, Alexander the Great met Diogenes. Alexander asked, "Is there anything I can do for you?" Diogenes replied, "Yes, step aside, you're blocking my sunlight." The crowd gasped, a poor philosopher mocking the world's most powerful king. But Diogenes didn't care. Power meant nothing to him. For Diogenes, wealth was a chain that trapped men. Comfort made people weak and afraid of losing it. But a dog needed little, and so it feared nothing. To Diogenes, that was real power, needing less. At first, Diogenes owned a wooden cup for drinking water. But when he saw a boy drinking with his hands, he threw the cup away. "A child has beaten me in simplicity," Diogenes declared. For him, every possession was a chain, even a cup. Diogenes believed possessions own us, instead of us owning them. This belief shocked Athenians, who lived for luxury and honor. To Diogenes, all this was just noise, distractions from truth. He wanted honesty, the kind only dogs live by. A dog doesn't fake who it is. It wags when happy, barks when angry. Humans, we wear masks, pretending every day. Diogenes ripped those masks off with his words and actions. He believed shame was a prison created by society. So Diogenes ate in public, begged loudly, and even relieved himself in streets. People called him a madman, but he answered, "Yes, a madman who lives free." He called himself a dog, not as an insult, but as a badge of freedom. For him, a dog lived with more dignity than a slave to wealth. But Athenians were not ready for such radical truth. They laughed at him, mocked him, even threw bones at him. Diogenes laughed back. "See, now you treat me like a real dog." Instead of anger, he used wit to expose their foolishness. Diogenes became a mirror, showing people their hypocrisy. To him, a dog was more human than the humans themselves. He often said, "I fawn on those who give, bark at the greedy, and bite the wicked." With this, Diogenes became the first philosopher of shameless truth. But what about us today? Have we learned anything? We chase cars, phones, likes, and followers. Yet dogs live stress-free without needing any of that. We say we are advanced, but are we really free? Diogenes' question still bites us today. What is the cure to modern anxiety is to be a little more like a dog. To live simply, to speak honestly, to stop pretending. This was Diogenes' challenge to the world. He dared us, be bold enough to live free. And sometimes that means living like a dog. By now, Diogenes had built a reputation. Athens' wild dog, fearless and free. But his shamelessness went even further. He believed natural needs should never be hidden. Why? Because shame, he said, is a human invention. Dogs don't feel it. So why should we? To Diogenes, rejecting shame was the ultimate freedom, the courage to live honestly without fear of judgment. Of course, people laughed, mocked, and called him mad, but he was teaching a lesson through shock. Think about it, don't we still wear masks to hide what society doesn't approve of? Diogenes barked at hypocrisy, literally. He would bark at corrupt politicians in the streets. To him, being a dog meant telling the truth without fear, no matter who stood in front of you. But behind the madness was wisdom, the courage to say what everyone else was too afraid to say. Here's a challenge. In your own life, what truth are you hiding because of fear? Diogenes wanted us to rip that mask off and live boldly, like dogs do. But he wasn't only about shamelessness, he also believed in radical self-sufficiency. He owned almost nothing. Once, he carried a bowl to drink water, until he saw a boy using his hands instead. "The child has beaten me in simplicity," he said, as he threw his bowl away. To him, possessions were chains, and dogs carry no chains. Imagine if we carried only what we truly needed, how light our lives would feel. Here's the hook. Do we own our stuff, or does our stuff own us? Diogenes showed that true wealth is freedom, not money, not possessions, but independence. But don't mistake him for lazy. Like dogs, he was alert, sharp, and always ready to bite at corruption. Once a rich man threw bones at him as an insult. Diogenes lifted his leg and mocked him back. Shocking? Yes, but the message was clear. Don't treat people like dogs unless you're ready to be treated like one yourself. Diogenes' courage wasn't just in words, it was in how he lived every single day. To the world, he looked poor, but inside, he believed he was the richest man alive. "If I am content with little," he said, "then I have everything I need." This flips our entire modern mindset. Today, we're told happiness comes from more. More money, more things, more followers. But Diogenes asked, what if happiness comes from less? This is where the dog's wisdom shines. Simplicity, honesty, and fearlessness. Maybe that's why his philosophy still bites today, because deep down, we know he's right. So here's another question. If you lived like a dog for one day, what chains would you break first? Diogenes' life wasn't just philosophy. It was rebellion, a call to live free, and his bark still echoes today. By the end of his life, Diogenes was more than just a man. He had become a legend. His nickname? The Dog of Athens. What started as an insult became his proud identity. But why would anyone embrace being called a dog? Because for Diogenes, it meant freedom. Freedom from greed, freedom from lies, freedom from shame. And isn't that what we're still searching for today? The truth is, our world may look different, but our chains are the same. Diogenes would laugh at us, slaves to screens, possessions, and fake approval. Here's the real shock. Diogenes was happier with nothing than most of us are with everything. He has the most who is content with the least, he taught. So what would happen if we applied his dog philosophy today? Maybe we'd stop chasing endless wealth and start chasing wisdom instead. Maybe we'd stop faking perfection and start living honestly. Maybe we'd stop fearing judgment and finally taste freedom. This is why Diogenes wanted to be a dog, not to insult humanity, but to remind us what it means to be truly human. He stripped away false values until nothing was left except truth. And the truth is this: happiness isn't found in more, it's found in less. Less greed, less fear, less pretending. More honesty, more courage, more freedom. Diogenes proved that even the poorest man could be richer than a king. And that's why Alexander himself once said, "If I were not Alexander, I would wish to be Diogenes." Imagine that, the most powerful man envying the most shameless man. Maybe Diogenes wasn't the dog. Maybe society was, chained to its illusions. So, ask yourself, what would Diogenes arc at in your life today? Your fake friendships? Your endless scrolling? Your desperate need for approval? The dog philosopher forces us to face a hard truth. Maybe we're the ones living like slaves. But we can break those chains if we dare to live like dogs. To live simply, to live honestly, to live free. So now the question is yours. Are you brave enough to be a dog? Because in the end, Diogenes didn't want us to copy him. He wanted us to free ourselves. So if you're ready to break the chains, subscribe, and let's keep exploring philosophy together.